Good morning, everyone. I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a tomato update and, of course, some tips and tricks that, perhaps will work for you in whatever soil medium you're choosing to go with. Just kind of wanted to show you just a real quick something, though. This is one of our squashes. Oh, there we go there we go. Just a little bit more sleep in the eye. Yeah, but this is actually a squash here, all in flower, and there's so many bumblebees like just chilling and just going to town, as you can see, all over the place. There's one in there, there's one flying around, and what I just did is I defoliated it. Okay, so I actually got rid of a lot of the big, hey, how we doing, Steve? How we doing, Adriana? Thanks for hopping along. And as you see, we got some nasturtiums rocking down here. They're still a bit young, but they'll come along and they'll overflow and they'll be in bloom. But I just wanted to emphasize, hey, Christopher, how you doing, man? I just wanted to emphasize the container gardening. It absolutely works. Okay, we've gotten plenty off this plant. We're going to continue to get more, obviously. And now that I've defoliated, now the bees can see it even more. So it's like I'm helping them out. Hey, how you doing, Therma? Thanks for hopping along. But the yield is great, and it doesn't really require that much soil. I filled it up to about here, so we'd say probably about 2, maybe 2.5 gallons. Make sure to amend it right. If you want to know what to amend it with, I can help you out on that. And then the rest is wood chips. And as you can see, I mean, look at the stalk. That is deep, dark green and thick. So it twerks. How you doing? So to the tomatoes, okay, as you see, what we did initially is we put the cage on, okay, but then we put the double cage, okay, so flipped it upside down, zip tied it all the way around, made sure to feed it through, okay, and so that works. Now, how we doing, Matthew? Thanks for tuning in. But dude, I've known Matthew for like decades, him and his family. Awesome people. Aloha, Oregon. So what I did here on one of my other videos is I showed you basically how to cross-pollinate. And just to kind of give you an example, okay, is you see the flower clusters, okay, and what you do is you basically want to vibrate them. How we doing, Steve? Thanks a lot for joining, man. And so what that does, and you really kind of want to start from the top down, because then what was happening is in each of the flower clusters, there's going to be one male flower, and then the rest are going to be female. So then what happens is when you do that, I don't know if you have any kids, but, they get really happy everywhere. And then cross-pollinate, all the female flowers. And so I would say damn near all of these are already turning and cross-pollinating. And when you notice when that happens, because of the color differential. See, you see this one here, how it's closing, and it's very light. That's how you can tell that it's cross-pollinated. And so, we do have some tomatoes that are already formulating, in some areas. I made sure earlier on, when we were developing these, to actually tear off the blooms. And if you do that, you're saying, no, you're not 18 yet. You can't have sex. You need to grow up first. So it instigates more upward growth. And then what I do, and I'm actually going to do a little bit here this morning, is I'm going to defoliate here the bottom, probably up to about here, because what that will do, how are we doing, Fabiana, Bardo? And it's going to provide that upward mobility. And then once they get high, like these over here, I'm going to pull down on the top, and then I'm actually going to tie ropes then down to the ground, and I'm going to stake them down, kind of like what I did right there, for stabilization purposes, because these things are going to get really uber heavy. But yeah, I would say defoliate the bottom, obviously do some bug checks, hey Tony, how you doing, man? Thanks a lot for joining along. And just, whenever you're going through your tomatoes, I'm telling you, a little $3-4 investment, for this. And I'm telling you, it works every time. And it's not that we don't have plenty of bees. We have lots of bees, dude. It's just the fact that if you do this, you're ensuring your yield. And especially if you are giving them like the uber nutrients. So, what I did with my soil is I got the top tier, mushroom loam. which is about 48 a yard, but luckily I got some. Oh no, that's a crime right there. I just accidentally lost a couple of leaves. How you doing, Todd? Thanks for tuning in, brother. Yeah. And so, yeah, these are all going to turn. You know, I need to just kind of leave them alone because since they are turning, they're slightly, you know, a little bit weaker to hold on until they really start to close and then create that bulb. So these are all cross-pollinated. As you can see, you look at all the Romas, dude. Look at all those, okay? All in the center. Lift this up. Look at the size of that one, dude. That's freaking massive, you know? And that's what it's all about, is really just, you know, increasing your yields. Now, I'll let you know, if you're thinking about variety, you know, on what to do, if you see that one there, that's the Indigo Rose. And I'll tell you what, I haven't fed my tomatoes in like 3.5 weeks because they got some water wilt. You know, as you can see, they're bouncing out of it, but they're continuing to grow. But that one, man, that's a real hard one to grow. It's very temperamental. So in any case, you know, that's what you do. You know, defoliate the bottom, make sure that you're properly trellising up, you know, through the cage, and then the double cage if you want to have a really good yield and you got, you know, the sun and everything like that. And then of course making sure that you cross pollinate the top down, because then the pollen is like compound interest. So you exacerbate your returns, you get the aggregate, and it just floats down and makes your life a whole lot easier. So yeah, that's about it for this morning. You know, let me know down in the comments, you know, if you need any tips, you know, on anything else. But just to let you know, so the amendments that I use for my soil after the mushroom loam is I amend it with Epsom salt. That's the magnesium sulfate, not the scented stuff. You don't want, like, you know, lavender and chamomile and honey and all that stuff. Straight up Epsom salt. Wally World, you could get like an 8-pound bag for like $6. Will last you like 2 seasons, really. Organic chicken poo, the granules. I use the worm castings. I use the azomite for the rare earth, you know, A to Z minerals. How we doing, Bethany? Thanks for stopping in. Azomite, vermiculite, as well, because of trace minerals, but because it actually also allows for really good drainage. You want to make sure to put plenty of perlite in. That'll also allow for good drainage and mitigate your risk for developing any root rot, you know, or anything like that. Let me see here, what else? Oh yeah, and the mycorrhiza. The mycorrhiza is very, very important, beneficial bacteria. And then, to be honest, you know, really above and beyond that, you know, I would say maybe every 3 weeks, you know, mattering on the conditions. If you're in drier conditions, you're going to want to water more. But here in Oregon, you know, where it's still been pretty hot, tomatoes can sustain pretty high weather without having to, hey Robert, thanks for tuning in, brother. You can sustain, without having to water so much. But when you do, I would say per tomato this size, 2.5, so basically fill up a 5-gallon bucket, split it between 2 plants. I would say a good healthy, you know, teaspoon of Epsom salt, with about a shot of food, you know, plant food grade molasses. That'll have the sugars. It'll get everything kind of, you know, twerking down in the soil, and the worms love it, and it just makes it a good climate to grow. So let me know if you need any help, and I hope you guys have a wonderful morning. We'll talk to you soon, all right?